Welcome to Christ in Me with Addie podcast. I'm your host, Addie Overla, and I am so glad that you're here. Whether you're new to Jesus or you've been walking with Jesus for a while or you're not sure about this whole faith in Jesus and life thing, I'm so glad that you're here. Because here on this podcast, we have real conversations about really big questions about faith and life from the lens and perspective of the Bible. And if you're not sure what you believe, you don't have to believe to be a part of what we're doing here on Christ in Me with Addie podcast. This is a safe space to join in these conversations, figure out where God might be leading you, and figure out what kind of relationship you have with Him. I can't wait to get into it with you guys, but be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Addie Overla and join the Christ in Me with Addie broadcast channel to stay up to date on all things with the podcast. Now let's get into today's topic. Hey guys, and welcome back to Christ in Me with Addie. We are rocking and rolling in season 2, and I have a very special guest today that you've never met before.
Never met. Very special.
Someone who will probably be brought back onto the show time and time again.
I don't know why you invite me.
He's my most expensive guest.
That's right. My invoice, I'll be sending it to you later after this.
I pay him in wonderful home-cooked meals, Starbucks runs, and unconditional love and affection.
I'll have my admin send you my invoice.
Perfect. Welcome back to the show, my husband, Solomon. Okay, before we kick off today's topic, this is like so not on track with today's episode, but I just feel like I need to shout out our latest obsession.
Yes.
Before we recorded this episode, Saul had just gotten home from work, and I looked at him and I was like, so
baby need.
Are we going to get dirty soda? Or so our latest obsession, usually I'm like, I hope you guys roll up to Christ in Me and you have an iced coffee in hand or you're chugging your electrolytes. This is like the most, I'm on my whole non-toxic journey, my crunchy journey, but I like to call us scrunchy, sometimes crunchy, because the one thing that I will indulge in is dirty soda. And I know it's full of chemicals, but it's so good. So my order is Coke Zero with cream, coconut, pineapple, and salted caramel. It's called their salted caramel tiki. It's very Secret Lives of Mormon Wives of Us, but I'm kind of obsessed.
You're so weird with your coconut.
I love me some coconut. What's your order right now?
It is Mountain Dew and sour apple, and it is
Dew.
bussin'.
That's why our baby's going to come out with like 3 arms, because you've drank nothing but Mountain Dew since the day we met.
And it's wonderful.
Anyways,
welcome to Christ in Me with Addie
Me.
and Dirty Sodas.
So glad that you're here today. Today we're going to dive into a conversation that actually a lot of you guys have requested via DM. And also I just want to throw that out there. If you ever have a topic where you're like, oh my gosh, please cover this, or I'm wrestling with this in the faith. Also, sorry, quick side note, I'm in 3rd trimester of pregnancy, you guys, and I run out of breath like so fast. But anyways, if you ever have an episode request or something that you're wrestling with and you're like, can you talk about this? My DMs are always open at Addie Overla. You can even reach out to Solomon. Why not? At Solomon Overla.
Uh-oh.
Anyways, but we're always here to try to help. Of course, we don't have all the answers, but I really do my due diligence, guys. When you reach out to me with questions, like I will be your Bible scholar, your theologian. I really enjoy researching these topics, and I love apologetics, and I call Christ in Me sort of soft apologetics. And basically the word apologetics is just being able to answer questions about the faith. So anyway, long story short, Solomon just burped and it was disgusting. So hopefully no one could hear that. Ew. Today we're diving
Dirty soda.
Anyway, today we're diving into the question of how to navigate faith in the workplace. And the reason I asked Solomon onto the show is because, onto the show again, I've worked in ministry for the last 5 years, and it's been such a privilege, but I also understand that it is not the reality for so many people. Like, I worked in a workplace that like talking about God was not only welcomed, but it was actually encouraged and expected, But what's it like for people? I've tried to put myself in their shoes when maybe talking about your faith openly isn't welcome. Like prayer feels weird to do in the workplace. And so I invited Solomon on today because he works for a corporate company, and I just thought that he could lend really good perspective. I've worked in non-ministry jobs before where it was maybe more corporate or retail, things like that, or like more of an administrative job. But I also realized that I've been out of that realm for 5 years. So I wanted to ask Solomon on. And this can be a really tricky thing to navigate. I know you've shared just in our marriage some personal struggles with, man, like I really wanted to pray for this person in this moment, but it just felt weird to do out loud. Or maybe you felt in a moment people like using Jesus's name inappropriately, and you wanted to like stand up for your Jesus and advocate for yourself, but you didn't want to ruffle feathers and get HR involved.
Yeah.
So you've probably experienced many things like that.
Almost on a daily, but that's okay.
Love that. So whether you yourself as a listener work in an office, maybe you teach in a classroom, maybe you run your own business, or maybe you work from home, our faith doesn't clock out just because we've clocked in. And our faith honestly shouldn't clock out just because we've clocked in.
Amen.
So Solomon is back to answer a question today. We're really going to be diving into how can we carry the light of Christ into spaces that aren't necessarily designed for faith expression, like a workplace, like a corporate office, like a public school, etc. And so before we kind of unpack that question, we wanted to talk about what does it look like to practically have faith in your workplace. And I think that one thing that we need to state is that when we say, having faith in the workplace, this doesn't mean quoting Bible verses in every meeting, like dropping these Easter eggs and like looking for the eyes that light up. Looking for the eyeballs that light up in the conference room because you just snuck a scripture into your presentation or whatever. And it doesn't mean turning every coffee break into a sermon where you just preach at your coworkers. Like, not what we're talking about here. When we talk about faith in the workplace, we're talking about reflecting Jesus and how you treat others, how you work, and how you respond under pressure. And so, Saul, I'd love for you to share the verse here, Matthew 5:16.
So it says in Matthew 5:16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Yeah. I love that verse because it just really reminds us that no matter what we do, our life is a reflection of the light of Christ. And so that means our attitude, our integrity, our humility, and our kindness, all those things are all part of our faith. It's not just what we live for, but who we live for. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we are so much more than our job titles, and we need to remember that. But the practical question is, how do you balance that and meeting the expectations and culture of your workplace? So I wanted to throw out some common workplace challenges and see which ones resonated with you, Saul, working in a corporate office. But what do you think are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to being open about your faith in the workplace? I would say working in corporate, the biggest thing is waiting for the opportunity, because most of the time you're going to be a representation until someone might ask that question of, hey, I saw your post the other day that you were at church. What church do you go to? Or do you have a recommendation? Or what are your thoughts on this? That's really when those discussions just absolutely thrive and just they're amazing and incredible and what we're called for. Yeah. But other than that, you're just pretty much living the life as you can to exemplify the Lord, and you just do your job, and you not sit still, but you just be patient and wait and do what you're told and
wait for those opportunities. Yeah, that can definitely be a challenge, because I can think back to some of my previous jobs and the opportunity never came for me. And it's difficult for me to picture this because I wasn't a Christian when I worked in like secular jobs or like retail. I was a manager at Ulta for a while. And it's actually kind of crazy. I can't think of one time somebody talked to me about their faith when I worked at Ulta.
I'd say a lot of people like to try to keep their religion or faith out of the workplace. Yeah. And like, I can respect that because I understand the pressure that you can feel, but also don't make that something that is going to be a crutch on your relationship with God.
Actually, I'd love to, I know we're kind of listing workplace challenges right now, but I'd love to unpack what you just said and just ask, why do you think people try to keep their faith in their personal lives almost out of the workplace?
I think it can become a little bit of a fear factor because they don't know that it almost turns into what are they going to think of me as soon as I tell them this? Like, so I hate to say it, but some people in corporate world are just extremely fake, but there are also a bunch out there that are extremely personable and actually care about you. And so like finding those people and like sometimes when someone asks, how are you doing? And then you actually start spilling that out. It's like that person actually didn't care to hear how you were actually doing. And it's kind of similar in that respect of like,
they don't actually maybe care about your personal life and the ins and outs.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I also think it's hard to balance like professionalism, but also being a human being. Yeah. And so that could be a challenge in itself, is just where am I crossing the line of professionalism by showing maybe too much of my humanness, my humanity.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, but I also hate that that's even an aspect kind of our society, because if we can't be vulnerable and human and just real before each other, like what can we be? And so that is one lovely thing about working in ministry is I do feel like I was genuinely asked, like, how are you? How's Solomon? Even like, how's your husband? How's life? So yeah, that would be challenging. But I just wrote down some other common workplace challenges that good old ChatGPT said most people struggle with. So the first one is when you're surrounded in the workplace by gossip or toxic culture.
Ooh.
And I know I definitely experienced that. I was a manager at Ulta for a little while, which I think I shared already, but I would struggle sometimes with hearing the associates kind of gossip about a manager that they didn't like, or they didn't like this person. And that was tough, because if you have bad attitudes in your team, it can really poison the well. It can really cause a lot of strife, anxiety, like upset in a daily basis. It really is
like a wildfire, where as soon as someone brings up like, oh boy, here comes this person again, or we got to work with this person on this project, and it, you know, you're with your team, it just starts like a wildfire, because it's like, oh boy, there they come.
And if you're the one being talked about, like, that never feels good.
Never.
And if someone's constantly talking about other people to you, like, you can start to feel bad of like, I don't want to participate in this, but I'm also scared to speak out against it because I don't want to affect my job standing. It's really hard to have integrity in those moments. And so if you've struggled with that gossip or toxic culture, I would just recommend trying to step out when conversations get inappropriate or they don't sit right with you. Just remove yourself from that. Be kind, but be firm, and maybe even try to redirect the conversation or just choose not to participate. And I think the difficult thing about working in a workplace where maybe it's not faith-based is you can't expect people to respond well to you trying to do the right thing. So if you were to say something like, hey, Solomon, I don't think that we should be talking about so-and-so like that. Like, they're on our team, and I know they have their challenges, but I just don't think we should talk about a coworker like that. It might be a reaction for the person to look at you and be like, okay, well, whatever. We're going to go talk about them over drinks tonight. You know what I mean? And like, you could just get totally shut down, and then they're making fun of you. So I get that it's like a slippery slope. I don't know why I can't talk today. Probably because I'm high on soda right now. But anyways, so I get that is a slippery slope. But remember, Proverbs 13:3 says, whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. And so maybe that's not your life in terms of your standing with your coworkers. We all want that to be smooth and to be fine. But the fact of the matter is how your life is before God matters way more. So when you guard your mouth, when you guard your words, when you guard how you speak about others, that actually preserves your life before God. So silence, removing yourself from the situation, that can be a very loud witness.
And even just speaking out, like you were saying, because I've even seen instances where another coworker has just been like, all right, guys, like that's enough. Like, let's move on.
Good for them.
Let's stop talking about this and get some other work done. So
good for them.
And it was really encouraging because it's like, okay, cool. I can do this and my team will respect me if this ever were to happen through me. So,
and I think God honors when you try to do the right thing, and he can supernaturally soften hearts too. So just remember that.
Yep.
I think the second thing that I wrote down as being a common workplace challenge is when your faith feels like weird or unwelcome. And this is kind of what Solomon mentioned before, where you're like, oh, are they going to think differently of me now that they know, that I follow Christ? Like, I hope they don't feel like I'm judging them if they get a little tipsy at the Christmas party. I hope they don't feel like I'm judging them if they drop the F-bomb. That's something I wouldn't do, but maybe they do that and it's just part of their daily routine.
Yeah.
So maybe you're the only Christian in your environment, whatever your work environment looks like, and it feels really isolating. And so my advice to you is, instead of trying to force a conversation about faith, build relationships first.
Yep.
It's really hard for people to assume things about you, like that you're judging them or that you think you're better than them or whatever other stereotype people like to label on Christians, when they know who you are as a person. They know your character. They know your motivation behind things. So instead of trying to force a conversation on them about the Bible, about Jesus, about, hey, you shouldn't cuss like that, instead, just build that relationship with that coworker, with that boss. Let people see your life as much as you're comfortable sharing. And when someone asks things like, hey, why are you so calm? Like, that was so stressful, that meeting. How are you so calm? Or how did you handle that so well? That's your opening. That's your opportunity to be like, let me tell you about my Jesus.
Yeah. I'll say like, when I first stepped into the corporate world, it was a big jumping from working part-time ministry / full-time, technically, because I worked at the church and Chick-fil-A. So it was kind of like, jumping from there into corporate was tough. But something that I learned was building that relationship with people. It's important to build respect before pushing anything on anyone or even having those conversations, because you have to understand where that person's coming from, what their background looks like, and what their limits are. Because if you like just spill something out, you don't know, you might have just accidentally brought up like some PTSD of like a past trauma or something. Get to know that person first before you decide to step out and just be like, I follow Jesus. And it's good to be bold, but I really think it's really important to build that relationship in respect.
It is. And what you said is so good, and it instantly reminded me, I was trying to think of like, who's somebody who's approached me abruptly and I've reacted badly because I don't know who the heck they are. Salespeople who come to our door at our house. So we're first-time home buyers and we have a new home. So people have come to our door time and time again trying to sell us solar panels, security systems, lawn treatments, all these things. Actually, I forgot to tell you, somebody rang the doorbell yesterday and it was more solar panel people. So they're like really on the hunt. And the thing is like when they ring my doorbell, I don't know who you are, what you're selling, the reputation of your company, the quality of your product. I don't know anything about you. And this like cold call, cold approach, and I'm really sorry if you're a door-to-door salesperson. I don't mean to have this like angst against you. I just think that, again, I have PTSD with like salespeople now. But again, I don't have a relationship with the person coming to my door. And so I'm not buying anything from anybody or signing up for anything when I don't know who you are. Or so like you kind of have to think about it the same way when it comes to if you want to show someone why following Jesus is worth it and amazing and like why it's such a positive force in your life, you have to establish that relationship first instead of cold calling, showing up at their door and be like, can I tell you about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? But yeah, I also think too, so many people think that Christians like want something from them. Like, why do you want me to be a part of what you're doing? Why do you want me to accept Jesus the way you have? Like, I'm glad that works for you, but like, why do you want that for me? And like, some people find that very weird and intimidating. And I felt that way in the beginning too. Yep. So like, how better to reflect Christ's love by just doing what he asked of us. And that was to love God and love people. Just build those relationships. Yep. Don't make it weird. Nope. Okay. Number 3 of a challenge in the workplace is not knowing the background of the people that you work around. And what I mean by that is, how were they raised? Were they raised in a faith-based home? Were they raised in a home where they were told, God's not real? Were they raised in a home that was maybe Jewish, Buddhist, or Baptist? Like, who knows? Yep. And do they have church hurt? Have they ever been hurt by someone of the faith to where if they even hear you mention that you go to church, that's a trigger for them? Yep. Or if they even hear anything that sounds remotely religious, they want to stiff arm you and be like, get away. Yep. So I think that can be a huge challenge to navigate too. Like, you want to be respectful. You want to be open-minded to different cultures, backgrounds, and different things like that. But at the same time, you don't want to hide the truth that you know. Yeah.
I kind of similarly to what I said earlier, like, get to know the person, show them respect and love like Jesus would. He would try to...
If you burp one more time,
I'm sorry.
On this
I took the mic away. But anyways, back on track. Okay, back on track. So if you're trying to get the respect of someone, like, let's say, for example, like in the Bible, when Jesus went to talk to someone, he wasn't like, do you know my Father?
Don't spill the soda.
Sorry. Do you know my Father? Like, he wouldn't start conversations that way. Like, he would start it by being relatable and asking questions.
That's such a good point. He would tell a parable usually, which was like a story that the people of the time could relate to. So,
I think that's just so important to just know who your audience is. So,
that's
get
good
to know the person.
And number 4, the last challenge that ChatGPT said was like common challenge for people in the workplace is you're afraid that the people you work with will think differently of you.
Oh, they will.
Or that you will get less opportunity in your workplace if your faith is made known. And so if that has ever been a concern of yours, I would recommend looking for areas of relatability. Help them into your world so that they might understand you a little more.
Yep.
I think one of the greatest dividers of humanity is assumption. And I think all too often when we hear that someone is different than us, we start assuming all the reasons why we would not get along with them or could not be friends with them or couldn't consider them for the promotion. You know what I mean? And so give them every reason to relate to you as a human, to understand you more, even if they never come to believe what you believe. Maybe relating your life to them or just giving them some way to relate to you will help them at least respect and understand you better. And I think a perfect example of this would be when if you want to share about the time you like invited your coworker to take a church gig.
So in my job, I run a lot of sound and do a bunch of like camera transitions, or I direct my team on how to run a show, a production. And so outside of my full-time job, I also help a bunch of local churches with their production. So like if they live stream, making sure that everything's, smooth and consistent. And so I get a bunch of local churches that ask me to help with their equipment, run their sound, pretty much everything I just said. And so sometimes I can't say yes because there's multiple gigs. And working at my current job, I have a bunch of people that are just very proficient and honestly industry professionals. So not all of them are Christians, or, some of them have the church background, but there's just been a couple of times where I have a gig and I'm able to kind of, reach out and be like, hey, this church is looking for help. Are you able to make it? And so like one of our old churches that we attended to, I was on guitar and you were singing, but I was able to kind of hire him on at our old church and for sound. And so it was just a really cool opportunity for us to kind of reach out and maybe plant that seed of just like hope to where like he could come to church and maybe kind of feel that sense of community and love of Jesus. And maybe he doesn't. Like, it's just one of those things where our job is to plant the seed and just maybe water it. And maybe we're just to plant the seed and just be like, okay, someone else will minister to him. Someone else will plant the seed. Someone else will talk to him or her. And so just like having that opportunity is really cool to just maybe see how their hearts might soften or how they might act during the next work week. And so that was just really cool.
Yeah. And I think it's encouraging too that he heard that it was like a side gig at a church and still said yes.
Yep.
So that shows that, like, I don't know, maybe willing. He did just want the paycheck, and that's fine. But like, that's a really easy way to be like, hey, here's a paid gig. You can step into my world, see that I'm not this like
Cuckoo
super
bird.
Weird homeschooled
flag twirler. No.
And that, it's not that weird. And so I think when we can just be vulnerable and show little bits of ourselves to each other, that's when we start just seeing each other more human, even if we have differences in beliefs. So I also wanted to share about a time, Saul, that you shared in our marriage of a time that you like didn't speak up and a time that you did, and something that you experienced that was challenging in your workplace. And so I think you can tell this story, concise and without leaving too much detail in, but
excuse me,
that it's a really impactful story that people can relate to. So if you've ever, as a Christian in the workplace, struggled with how to navigate certain scenarios, here's a scenario that Saul experienced that he had to figure out how to navigate as a Christian.
Yep. So when I was first hired on at this corporate company, I was just getting to know the team, getting to know like the environment, the culture, and it was just coming up to June. So they're very big on like DE&I, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I, again, as a Christian, like I really do believe in a lot of what DE&I stands for, but in a different approach. So with Pride Month coming up, there was an event that it was like a DJ / he reached out to our team and was like, hey, like it's a volunteer event. Like, can you provide the sound system? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. And so our team was just like kind of discussing who was going to go watch the equipment and set it up, help the DJ out and make sure like everything gets torn down and back to campus. And so I was like, sure, I'll do it. I don't mind. Like it's a open evening and I get to stay clocked in. Cool. Why not? So go set everything up and just kind of was like, all right, I'll hang out like by the DJ and just make sure sound equipment, like he doesn't blow it up, it's DJs pump it up loud. And so they told us there was a performance. And for me, I was like, cool, like a solo artist maybe, or a band.
You were thinking like live band and you get to mix or something.
And come to find out, it was a drag queen. And I didn't really know that until the event had already started. And so there was also a filming crew there. And at one point, so I'm still by the DJ up against the wall and just have my arms crossed. Drag queen comes over during their performance and
pulls you out on the
literally
stage.
Pretty much backs it up to me and starts
pop, lock, and drop it.
They weren't on me, but it was very uncomfortable for me because I was like, I've never been grinded on by a single other person. Not even a girl? No. And I especially...
Solomon did not go to public school. I did. Wasn't a Christian
Eagle Scout, homeschool, Christian.
So this is like an otherworldly experience.
This was extremely hard for me to just process because like I've never been in this situation. I wasn't touched at all, which thankfully... But I like look over to my right and there's a videographer and I like just shook my head and I was like,
don't film
pretty
me.
much not giving him consent. But he could tell I could sense that he was also extremely uncomfortable and didn't understand what was going on. So when I shook my head, he was like, great, I don't have to film this. And so he and I were able to like bond on a spiritual level, but like the other part of me is like, what is going on? Because people are cheering in the background and I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things going through my head and like, honestly, nothing horrible happened, but because of the situation it put me in, I like just couldn't understand how to process it.
Yeah.
So I could have either not brought it up and just moved on and been like, get over it. Or I could bring it up and just say like, hey, this is kind of what my experience was. I did not feel comfortable being approached by this, like not even being asked like, hey, are you cool being danced on? No, I'm not. Okay, cool. There was no consent. There was just like, it happened. Boom, boom, boom.
You were like a spectacle.
Pretty much. And I didn't appreciate that. But the way that our company handled the situation was very respectful. I respect people, but as soon as they force that upon me, it's hard. Yeah. Like this is a situation that I don't want to have to put myself in. Well, make it uncomfortable.
And something that you didn't share in the telling of that story is we were recently engaged.
Yes. Yep.
And so I remember you and I like hanging out after that happened. You're like, hey, I just want to let you know like this happened. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, like a woman danced on him. And that I'm so sad, like, you know, but one, he did nothing to like ask for that. Two, when I found out that this person was a drag queen, like, you know, it could have been anybody, man, woman, anything, and that's not appropriate in a corporate setting. And we even talked about, like, if Saul had gone and danced on a coworker like that and it was filmed, he'd be fired. So, like, but because I think it was a pride event and him being someone of faith, there tends to be a lot of assumption, like I said, that, you know, that's like oil and water. And for some reason that someone can't celebrate pride and a person of faith be there and just live a different life, but still, you know, witness that and be like, okay, they live their life this way, but I live my life this way. Yep. But when you're roped in and danced on, that's where it becomes a challenge.
Because they think, oh, you're at the event, so you support what I'm doing. So,
but again, it was part of your job in that moment, unfortunately. Yep. So, I think the challenge with that would be like what you shared. How do I let my company know, hey, this happened and it made me uncomfortable, without one, coming across like I don't support the DE&I, and two, that I'm not homophobic or transphobic, but that I simply am just a straight male who's recently engaged and didn't want to be filmed in this moment.
The only person I want dancing on is my future wife.
Which I don't think I've ever even danced on you. So. Anyways, I wanted Saul to share that. Though. Yeah, I am pregnant, so maybe I should give my twerking career a go now. I can twerk from the front, just the belly. Anyways, but I wanted Saul just to share that story to show a real practical scenario where a person of faith didn't want to cause any upset or offense, but was pulled into something that made them uncomfortable and had to speak up in the moment. And overall, I think God was on the whole situation because how your company responded was great. And then how you moved forward and felt cared for as a person of faith who didn't want, you know, that to happen again was great. So all in all, the Lord works through even the most difficult of situations when we do the hard thing and still don't stay silent about our faith. And that doesn't mean you have to go in and be like, hey, this happened and I'm a man of God. You know, that's not what he did. He just went in, he said, hey, so this probably wasn't for me, you know? So how can we best live out our faith in workplaces for whatever unique situation that maybe you're experiencing or facing? And I think when it really comes down to it, being excellent at what you do and remembering who you do it for is the most important thing. Being excellent at what you do and remembering who you do it for. Colossians 3:23 says, if you want to take
whatever you do it from the heart as something done for the Lord and not for people.
So even if it feels like you're just punching in your time card each day, making that bank to buy dog food, or that's what it feels like for us sometimes, making that bank to pay for more dirty soda, whatever it is, whatever you do, whatever work you do, even if it's not your dream job, if it's not something you love, go into work every day and remember that you can work from your heart and do it for the Lord and not people.
Yep.
And so to be excellent at what you do and to remember who you do it for, I think means being someone who meets deadlines, who handles feedback with grace, someone who uplifts the team. And I can say just from outside looking on, I'm so thankful for the team that you're a part of in your workplace. And you guys just like have each other's backs, and it's such a seems like such a great team to be a part of. And it's easy to compliment the people you work with when you feel like the team is uplifting each other. That's just a healthy environment. So even if you're in a situation where people are constantly cutting you down and no one is uplifting you, maybe it's because the people you work with, all they've ever been treated is negatively. And if you were that first person to step up and uplift them, if you were to swallow your pride and tell them, hey, great job on your presentation today, that was amazing. Or, hey, thank you so much for stepping up and doing this extra little bit of job, whatever it was, that really helped me today. Just uplifting someone can go so much further than, the silent treatment or petty, sarcastic remarks or what else. I don't know. Being slow to anger in stressful situations, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does.
Going the extra mile. A lot of people don't know that that's actually a phrase from the Bible. Did you know that?
Is that like when Jesus takes the backpack?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
from the Roman soldiers?
Yes. In the time frame that Jesus was alive, the Roman soldiers could give their pack, like all their heavy metal gear, whatever, to anybody, Gentile, Jew, whoever, and say, carry this for a mile. And legally, they had to carry it for that soldier for a mile. And in scripture, we see Jesus challenge the people to actually carry it for the soldiers an extra mile. If they force you to carry it a mile, go the extra mile. Carry it one more mile extra for them, just to show you that you are excellent in your work and that you live for the Lord, and that humans can't control you. So I don't know what that looks like in your work situation, but maybe you stay a little later to help out another coworker. Going the extra mile is actually a great way to show the Lord in all that you do. And just remember that all these things, you're not screaming from the rooftops, I'm a Christian, but all of that is a silent testimony to who you live for. Would you add anything else to that list?
Yeah, just slow to listen. All right, sorry, geez.
Slow to listen.
No. Slow to speak, quick to listen, and just be respectful.
For sure. I think your work ethic and not just your words can make people curious about your faith.
Absolutely.
And so here's a few ways as we close, just practical ways to live out your faith at work. I think these are just a few ideas I came up with to blanket, throw them out there as starting places. If you're just so fed up and hurting in work, maybe it's time for a new work situation. That's possible. But here's a few things you could try before you jump to that extreme. Start your day in prayer. If you have a difficult boss who you don't get along with, if you have a team or coworkers that are very challenging to be around, pray for them. Start every day by praying for your boss on the way to work. Pray for your coworkers on the way to work, and even pray for your own attitude. Pray that God would help you have a softened heart or more patience. I don't know what that looks like, but pray. It softens heart, it changes attitudes, and it changes lives. Do you want to read the next one?
I can. Listen more than you speak. People open up when they feel heard. And be intentional. I think that's be intentional when you're doing that, when you're listening, because I can find myself really quickly just getting sidetracked, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what did they just tell me? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
There's a really big difference in intentional listening and pretending like you're listening, and people can really tell which one you're doing. Next one is offer to pray.
Yep.
Like where you see it appropriate. So if someone comes into work and they're like, my dog just died last night and I was up all night and I'm having a really hard time. Maybe on your lunch break, or maybe if you guys go on a coffee run together, you could be like, hey, this might be weird, but this really helps me in these situations of just extreme sadness where I have no words. Could I just pray for you really quick?
Yeah.
And if they say no, they say no. If they say yes, then get it.
Shut it.
Okay, next one.
Celebrate each other's successes. We model Christ when we choose encouragement over competition.
Yeah. I think in workplaces, a lot of times we can look at our coworkers as competition. Like either
I want that promotion.
Yeah, either I'm going to get the promotion or they are. So I'm going to make sure to point out that they were 5 minutes late today. I'm going to make sure to point out that they, and it's like, that's not Christ-like. I get that might not put you the furthest ahead, but if that's what it costs to get ahead, then I don't want to be there.
Nope. I don't want it. Makes me feel grimy and dirty.
Yeah, makes me feel icky. Next one is be honest always, even when it's hard. If you were 5 minutes late and your boss asks you, hey, what time did you get here today? Don't lie and say that you were on time. No, be honest. Say, listen, I got stuck in some traffic today and I'm really sorry. I'll be sure to leave earlier tomorrow morning. Like, be honest, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make you look good, even when the truth doesn't share the best.
The truth will set you free.
Share the best picture of you. Like, it matters to God. So, and last but not least, represent. Oh, sorry.
No, you go for it.
Okay, I guess I feel like
you wrap it up.
Okay. The last one is represent Christ instead of just reflecting your work culture. Yep. So remember, when you go to work, you're not just a Christian in the culture of your work. You are a Christian invading the culture of your work. Doesn't mean you have to become it. So, for example, here's some practical things. If it's okay for others to cuss at work and that's happening all day, every day, that doesn't mean that you have to, just to fit in. Go against the grain. Be different. You're not hurting anyone by not cussing and joining in. Or if you see your coworkers getting a little tipsy, a little frisky at the company parties and they're all married, like just be the DD instead and tell them about how much you love your wife.
That's right.
Be the DD instead. If you see people, cut down others to cut corners and get ahead in the company, remember that God is the ultimate one that we need to please. And honesty, integrity, and kindness go a lot farther than any promotion.
And you go up to them and say, just you wait till Judgment Day, honey. No, I was kidding.
You say, I'll be getting the promotion in heaven. So
You're not getting that castle.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, if you're listening today and you feel like your job is too small and insignificant and unseen for any of this to matter, I just want to remind you that it does matter. Maybe you view it right now as just a 9-to-5 and a way to pay the bills, but in that it's maybe even like a separate part of your life as a Christian, and that you can be more yourself after 5 o'clock or more yourself on Sundays. But there's nothing insignificant about your impact in the world to the kingdom, and that's what every single workday is for you. So Matthew 25:21 says, well done, good and faithful servant. And it's funny that we joked about heaven and when we get there in Judgment Day, because that's what we hope God looks at us and says. Please. Yeah, please. And not depart from me for I never knew this. Anyways, we hope that he says, well done, good and faithful servant, even if it was hard, even if you didn't get the promotion, even if you even got let go for standing up for your faith. God sees your faithfulness in the break room, the meeting room, the Zoom call, and you don't have to obnoxiously shout Jesus from the rooftops. You just need to reflect him in your life daily. And that sometimes is a lot louder than shouting Jesus in the workplace. Have you ever done that?
Shout Jesus from the mountain.
Oh, no, wow. We get our own, keep going. No. Jesus in the streets. Anyway, thank you for joining us today on Christ and Me with Addie. My prayer is that you walk into work tomorrow with a renewed sense of purpose, maybe fresh hope, fresh perspective, fresh ideas on how to move forward. And don't underestimate the power of presence, God's presence in the room, your presence in the room as a Christian, when maybe Christians are not the majority in your workplace. You're not just clocking in, you're carrying Christ in all that you do. Amen.
Amen.
If this episode encouraged you, please consider sharing it with a coworker or a friend. And as always, feel free to message me on Instagram at Addie Overla. Feel free to leave a review if this podcast helped you. That really helps others find the podcast to also be encouraged. So until next time, we'll see you on Christ in Me with Addie.
See ya.